Let me ask you a question. What does it take to become a millionaire? Some people will tell you it takes hard work and determination and a lot of brains. Other people will say it takes connections and luck and ruthlessness and unfair advantages. Now, there's a lot of truth to both of those positions, but I think of this in a bit of a different way. In my experience, if you want to become a millionaire and be happy with yourself and keep your wealth, it's all about your mindset. You need to get very clear on your 3 no's. Before I get to that, my name is Henry Bingaman. If you don't know my story, I started out as a freelancer in 2008. Now, in the early days, I got so discouraged that I almost quit. Then I discovered the secrets and strategies that make high-income freelancing possible, and I eventually built my income up to over $1 million in a year. Today, I make videos like these to help established and aspiring freelancers and solopreneurs make more money and have more freedom. All right, so let's get to the 3 no's. The first one is know your why. There are really only 3 reasons people want to get rich, and only one of those reasons is sustainable. Now look, we all have all 3 of these motivations to some extent. They're all very human motivations, but one is going to be the primary motivation for any individual. The other 2 are incidental, and that's important to know because only one of these will make you both rich and happy over the long run. The first why is because you want status. You want people to look at you and be impressed. Status is a terrible motivation for wanting to be a millionaire. In fact, it's going to drive you insane if that's your primary motivation, because as soon as you're a millionaire, you'll start finding yourself in circles with dudes who are worth $10 million, and then all of a sudden you're poor in that group. And then if you do get to the $10 million net worth level, you'll start hanging out with people worth $100 million. This is just a treadmill that you cannot get off of, and it's a recipe for misery. The second motivation for wanting to become a millionaire is for power. There's this fantasy that once you're rich, you'll be able to boss people around. You get to start writing the rules. But the only reason to crave power to that level is because you're overcompensating for a severe feeling of inadequacy, or you're a literal psychopath who doesn't care about other people. These people who crave power need to fix their daddy issues, not get rich. Now, you're not necessarily a sociopath if you want a seat on your local school board so you can influence the curriculum. But if power is your primary motivation, it becomes addictive. You get some and you need to get more. There's no end point. And you can't be fully happy until you're the supreme leader of the galaxy. And that's the real problem with wanting both status and power. They're relative to other people, so you can never actually get enough to be the best, to fulfill yourself. If you're seeking status or power, you'll inevitably become miserable, even if you get it. And that's why the third why is so important, and the third why is freedom. This is the best and only sustainable motivation for getting rich. Freedom is the ability to live life on your own terms, to live where you want, to work when you want, to raise your kids in the best way you see fit. If you're rich enough, you get to flip off anyone who tries to tell you what to do. And here's the best part. Freedom is an achievable goal. Now look, I don't have what they call FU money, not yet anyway. But I do have politely ask you to leave me alone money. I live on 15 acres in the mountains. I do what I want, when I want, where I want, with whom I want. So, do I want more money and more freedom? Absolutely. That's still why I'm out here working, producing these videos, taking on freelance clients, building a business. But here's the difference between having status or power as your motivator and having freedom as your motivator. The more status and power you get, the worse you feel, because you start realizing how unattainable your ultimate desire is. The more freedom you get, the better you feel. At least 90% of us, 9 in 10 of us, human beings, real people, if we get over the petty things of wanting revenge for all the shitty things people have done to us in the past, and if we have good friends and family around us, the only thing we actually want is freedom. We just want to be able to live our lives on our terms. The other 10% of people, those are the terrible people we want freedom from. Money is simply a tool. If you use it right, you can build an incredible life for yourself and your family and your friends. If you use it wrong, you're basically building your own prison. Speaking of knowing your why, the reason I make these videos is to provide value to you. So if you think I'm doing a good job, hit the like button and let me know. And if you want me to keep making these videos, let me know by subscribing to the channel. All right, the next no. Know your how. There are 2 hows that can make you $1 million or more. I'm not talking about tactics or career paths. I mean this in a much broader sense. The first way to get $1 million is through theft. And in theft, I'm counting anything that involves coercion, deceit, fraud, extortion, corruption. There are a lot of products on the market that are coercively extracting money from normal people. For example, the health insurance and pharmaceutical industries. They're 2 sides of the same coin, and they work together to quite literally steal money from all of us. Yet the founders and the executives at those companies get very, very, very rich. That's evil. They're part of that 10% that we all want freedom from. As tempting as it may be to make the kind of money those executives and owners are making, I highly recommend you don't lose your soul trying to get that rich. So what's the other option? Well, the other option is to provide value. The best way to make $1 million is to provide more than $1 million worth of value. It makes perfect sense, yet our society is so corrupt that this seems like the sucker's way of doing it. Now here's the shocking thing. You're probably capable of delivering a lot more value than you've been led to believe. The public school system and the corporate system have tricked most people into thinking that they're worth a lot less than they are. There are plumbers and electricians and truck drivers out there making $200,000 a year or more. Why? Because it's absolutely inarguable that people need plumbers and electricians and truck drivers. The value they provide is indispensable. And then there are tens of thousands of freelancers and contractors and consultants who make over $500,000 a year because they provide way more value than that to the companies and clients they work with. Here's the problem and why this is so hard to see. There are a ton of jobs today that are fake. For example, look at the public school system. The jobs that pay the most in the public school system are the administrators, $200,000 or more in some cases. But 90% of those jobs are completely unnecessary. With the technology we have today, there's literally no good reason for those administrative jobs. And at the same time, the terrible teachers get paid just as much or more than the good teachers in the system. And there are good teachers in the system that provide real value and are not getting paid nearly enough. Or we could take another example. Look at the military contractor jobs. The government spent $1.7 trillion to Lockheed Martin to make this piece of crap F-35 fighter jet. Now, it's not nearly as good as the last two versions of the F-15 and F-22. So we took some of the nation's best engineers, designers, mechanics, and we wasted a decade of their time on this pointless, extremely expensive project. Meanwhile, these record profits boosted the stock price of Lockheed Martin and made the shareholders very, very rich.
But who are these two?
Don't you recognize them, Sheriff?
Wyatt.
It's a scam. Those are fake jobs. Now, there are obviously a lot of reasons why this is bad, but one of the reasons is that it makes it harder for people to tell what providing real value looks like. But once you know, it becomes very clear very quickly what the difference is between real value-generating work and these types of pointless fake job scams. I made a video on this topic recently, so I'll be sure to link to that below. All right, the final no. Know your timeline. You're not going to become a millionaire overnight. There's no crypto scam or get-rich-quick scam that's going to work like that. You have to have some level of patience and endurance. However, it also shouldn't take your entire life. There's a lot of things I like about Dave Ramsey, and his whole everyday millionaire concept is generally correct. Get out of debt, save a good portion of your income, invest, and yes, you can retire a millionaire even on a very normal salary. It's not exactly bad advice, but it's slow. And it sucks to have to wait to be a millionaire until you're in your 60s and getting ready to retire. I like flying first class and traveling around the world, and I'm very glad I got to do a bunch of these amazing things in my 20s and 30s. You need some patience and endurance because it's going to take you at least 2 to 3 years to start seeing really good results once you start focusing on building a high-income freelance career. And your income may actually take a step back in the beginning. It's one step back to take 5 steps forward. However, if you haven't made significant improvements in your income to the point where you're making over $200,000 or $300,000 within 5 years of starting, or you could at least see the path to that level of income, you've probably taken a misstep somewhere. In the first year or 2 years of that 5-year period, it's going to feel like it takes forever. However, looking back at it, it won't feel like you took that much time at all. So you have to be patient, but not too patient. If everything hasn't fallen into place in the first year or two, you need to give it more time. But if you haven't made serious progress within 5 years, you really need to reassess your approach. Start figuring out how to provide more value or how to cash in better on the value you are providing. All right, there's one more thing I think you should know if you're looking to build a high-income career, and that's how to look like a professional right away, which is why I want to show you the 5 free tools that make even brand new freelancers and solopreneurs look like seasoned pros. This is absolutely free, and you can find out all about these tools at henrybang.co/free tools. Link is in the description below. All right, see you in the next one.